All right, guys, welcome back to Power Clap. How are we doing? Good, fantastic, yeah. How's the Amazon going? Great. So if you haven't used it, I haven't ran into it yet, when you're working with your application, a really useful package. Hopefully you're not doing homework, ignore this, but the console.table. Has everybody ran into that yet with Node? Right, have you seen it? A couple of you seen it? Yeah, it's really cool, right? So it displays arrays in the console, just nice and clean. Nice table around it. So console.table. If you're looking at how to display your products in a nice manner, that might be a solution for you. So something to run into. So so we're gonna put MySQL stuff aside for a little bit. We're gonna move into a new subject. And you know what, the warning I get in the syllabus is basically like, this is the start of the hard stuff. So I don't want that to scare anybody, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Like this is when we return from like front-end developers to engineers, right? This is the stuff that the hardcore full stack developers are using, right? So if we can understand, at least at a conceptual level, all of us at the same page conceptually, we can get down to the nitty gritty. We can understand, we can understand what a desired effect is to get out of it and what we need to do to get there. All right, does that kind of make sense? Cool, so what are we gonna do today, right? We're gonna do something really fun. Oh, by the way, first of all, if you get a chance to download Postman, I'll explain it in a little bit. This won't happen towards the end of the class, but this application will help us interface with some of our applications today that we're using. So if you get a second, please download, get Postman. Don't worry about any special settings or anything. Just straight out of the box is good. It's free. Oops, let's skip back. So we're going to gain a conceptual understanding of server-side code, right? We're going to understand the fundamentals of building a server using plain Node.js to listen and respond to client-side requests. What does that mean? It means we're actually going to interface with the browser with our Node server, right? So when I'm talking about when we're using Node, right, we're using this stuff, we're going to set up individual servers, right? We're going to set up individual servers. We're going to use our client, which is our browser, and we're going to interface with our server, right? We're going to anticipate a request on our server side and send a response on the server to the browser. So it's going to be really fun. Promise. This is going to be a fun class. I guarantee it. So being that said, I didn't do a lot of these pictures, so don't blame me for a lot of these. You'll know when it's mine. But the whole Node Express service and routing are some of the most important concepts, right? So on Saturday and Monday, we're going to get into Express.js, right? Which are going to kind of simplify some of the stuff we're going to do today, which is writing some of the server code that's going to interface with the client side. But we're going to stay out of Express.js today. So don't worry about it until we get there. It's just really important that we get the fundamentals down today. So next 3 weeks are going to be the hardest to grasp. That's true. I honestly, I always look ahead. I know what's coming up in the next months. I'm really familiar with this content, and this is challenging. But I don't think it has to be as challenging as it seems. As long as we can kind of all be on the same page with everything. And I think we're a good enough group that if there's questions that come up, you can ask them, and I can let you know whether they're relevant or not to what we're learning. You know, because we could go down a lot of rabbit holes, and really, it's what's important conceptually is what we're going to focus on. All right, so bring your A game. Don't let this be you. I guess that's That's kind of what I look like a lot of times up here. So, whoa, hold on, go back to it. Oh no, that was okay. Oh, so guys, let's go back to trying to form study groups. I know we kind of slipped away from some of that stuff that we did at the beginning. This stuff that we're covering would be really beneficial. How many have an active study group right now? All right, so like 4th, 5th of it, right? So try to get that back to going, get back in the routine. I know it's an extra step, but it will definitely help with this. Taking notes. I know I see some of you guys taking notes, some of you not. This is really important to take notes, and not just write down notes in a notebook and be like, don't think about it again. You know, best practice of note taking is write the notes, review it later. You know, write the notes and actually look at them. But look at them when you're in a place where you still understand, you still recollect what's going on, so you can take additional notes like, okay, this is what I was talking about. So taking notes is going to be really important with this, just to keep things straight. And it's not a lecture, but it'll help you keep things organized of what's going on. Don't let big ideas gloss over you. Honestly, asking class and questions, like I said, if it's not relevant, I'll let you know, but I want to make sure you guys understand what's going on. Office hours, I will make a better attempt. I'm usually up here struggling or trying to figure out the video or what we're going to do to display something. I'm usually polishing up the PowerPoint or something like that, but I'm available. So obviously, office hours, raise your hand. We are going to do more structured office hours as well. Tim's volunteered to offer like a Git kind of a segment to help with Git, so we can kind of get back on that track. And at least we're going to do it in the next just week or two. So that'll either be before class or after class, kind of depending on your schedule as well, which would be really helpful because he's a professional on this, and it'd be nice to get another take on that. So kind of get our Git skills up to snuff. So there's I love it. You can do it. Yeah. Really be confident. We've what? Or what did you say? Yeah, your skills. That's what we'll call the seminar. So be confident. Like I said, I accidentally looked over the first lesson plan just the other day. I was like, oh my God, we've come so far. I know it's like, I know you don't want to believe it because you're like, oh, I'm struggling so much today. But if we looked at the stuff that we looked at the beginning, you guys are like, that's so easy. That was so at the time it wasn't. But now it is. So just remember, we'll get through this, together. The study groups, the office hours, obviously the tutors, all that stuff is available to you. This will be challenging, so I want you guys to have your A game on, like focus in class, like okay, let's figure this out together, and that'll help get through this quite a bit as well. So, do you guys want to tell me what a server is? Anybody want to tell me what a server is? We covered servers and files and stuff back in. Sure. Hardware and software, right? Anybody else? Anything? That's right.
That's here too.
Yeah. You're not Tim. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So. All right. So it's the machine encode that responds to requests. So when we talk about servers, we could also be talking about the hardware, but we could be talking about the software side of it, right? What we're going to set up today is multiple like server instances on one box. So in the framework of how this is set up is you can think of a server as being like an empty box that has a lot of other empty boxes inside, a lot of boxes inside it that can handle a lot of different things, right? Does that kind of make sense? So we can interface with a lot of different items with that. I'm going to get into that in a second, but anyway, when you're in a client side and you're on a web browser, right? You're getting a request from a server, right? You're getting a response from a server, sending a request and getting a response back, right? So any websites will do this, right? That's just kind of your interface, right? So it requires the two sides of it. What we're going to be doing today is our machines are actually going to be acting as both the server and the client. Okay, we're going to have a running server instance in our machine, which will be a node, and then we'll have a browser, which will technically act as another computer, right? In a sense, if you think about it, that'll be interfacing with the server. That's in Node. You guys kind of follow me with that? Just conceptually, you don't have to worry about the details as much, but that's basically what we're doing. We're creating a server, and then we're going to talk to it using our browser. Later on in class, we're going to talk to it using Terminal or Postman, which is why we're downloading that, but we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, so what are some examples of server-side functions, guys? Right, a request? Sure, HTTP request, that's good, right? So anytime you're going to a URL and you're giving an HTML page, right, there's a couple things that are going on, right? There's routing, right, that's happening. It's knowing where you're going, right? There's like URL parsing. It knows like what that URL is and how it's going to be handled on the server, and you're displaying the information, right? When we did APIs, right, for our first project, right, we're getting the endpoint, so we're able to parse the URL parameters, get back what we want from it, right? Even clicking on an invoice that provides a PDF report, right? Maybe that'll be served up by the server, and we'll be able to download that to our machine. So image processing software, it looks like an image filter, saves a new version. So a lot of times we'll run into the components that are handled on the server where we can actually send an image to them, and they'll resize it or compress it, and then we're able to download a smaller version of it just because of server-side functions that can handle that rather than just downloading a larger version of the file ourselves. So just an unlimited amount of things that we handled with the server that we run into on a daily basis, even though we don't even know it. Okay. So what we're going to focus on really today is these two things, right? What we're going to do is we're going to be creating a server, a node server, right? We're going to be handling, being able to take in a request, right, from a client, and being able to give a response back from the server. So we're going to be actually working with that handshake back and forth. You guys yourselves are going to be working with actually being able to do the URL parsing, the route handling, and the listening today. So what I mean by that is we're actually going to be setting up listeners on our servers to wait for a response from the client, right, which we have browsers, and once we get a request, we can give a response back from the server. So it sounds kind of heavy, sounds kind of hard, but once I get into this, you guys will see exactly what's going on. All right. So what is a client? Yeah, right. Browser is a great example, like Microsoft Outlook, right? Right. So it's a client, it's receiving something, right? Terminal can be used as a client, right? Anything else you guys can think of? So this works in the same way, right? Our web browser sends a request, gets a response from the server, and says, okay, I know exactly what you want to do with this information. I'm going to send it back, right? Just kind of like that handshake. It's like, I'm going to a URL. I'm going to get this response back, right? So I just want to make sure you guys are conceptually comfortable with that, in a sense. Is that how you feel about that conceptually, fist of 5? Okay, awesome. You guys are with me. Do it. Skip that. We covered it. Okay. So when we're dealing with the web, right? We do it usually over HTTP, right? When we're doing with websites, we're doing it over HTTP or HTTPS. Does anybody know what that stands for? Just for fun bonus facts. Right. Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And what does the S stand for? Secure. Yes. Some people. What's FTP? What's SFTP? It's actually, huh? It sounds like it should be, but I think technically it's not. It's not FTP that's secure. It's whatever. We get to it. Irrelevant.
I haven't used it. I've used that for
Right. Well, I use FTP a lot too, but I would secure, but I would assume it's the same port. Nobody really cares. Anyway, but doing that, we're communicating over that protocol, right? So that's what we're using. We're sending the HTTP request. We're getting the response, right? A valid response, right? Maybe there's a code that's associated with it when you guys were doing all your API stuff. Do you remember that? You get a code back sometimes. You guys remember what that number is? What? 200. Yeah. There's a bunch of other kind of codes, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but there's like a 404, there's a 403, there's a 400, there's a 501, you're right, there's a bunch of stuff. There's 8500 errors, and these are all different kind of responses that we can get from the server that tell the client what's going on. Awesome. So there is a consistent back and forth between the communications that you see, obviously, and we covered this, you guys remember this weeks ago. That happened on this end, right? So all this stuff transpires on the back end, right? We make a request, right? Comes through, like, okay, what do you want? Okay, you want this information. However you want it back is going to be a response, right? It's going to be, oh, I want HTML. You send HTML, you send CSS, you send JSON back, you send JPEG back, you send anything back, right? When we were doing this with APIs, you guys remember we were just getting like, well, JSON back. Remember? We're doing, like, okay, now we know what to do with it. So you guys are actually conceptually, you guys are like really familiar with this concept already. There shouldn't be anything really, really shocking. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so basically what I just said, server is one machine, the client's another machine, and then in a second we're going to be kind of emulating that. In fact, one of the projects we go through today, you're going to be emulating 2 servers on your machine and 1 client that's interfacing with both of them, right? We'll probably do another tab, so technically 2 clients. Cool. Awesome. So server hardware does look like large rugged-sized versions of desktop computers, and that's true. Although, like way back in like 2001, I ran my own server, my own website, my own mail service, right? And my computers did not look like that. So, yes, in some cases, in most cases nowadays, that's what they look like. Mine looked like a Pentium Xeon, what, 3.2 megahertz? Yeah, gigahertz at the time. Anyway, but yes, ideally, probably in clouds, they all look a lot more like this. And actually, a lot of office spaces, you'll see it, especially if they have local servers running. This is a pretty typical rack-mounted server system. Cool. So those servers, respective code, can handle all the requests coming through for different browsers and accessing the website. So pretend this is going to be our node servers that we're going to do today. Any computer any client that interfaces with it would get the response that we tell it to by sending in whatever response that we're getting. I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this one. So, where does the server live? Huh? Anywhere? Huh? They're everywhere. Here? Here probably. Yeah. Here they're all, we have Atomic Data here, and they're like probably one of the biggest. I'm sure there's others. Yeah, I know Oregon's huge for it. Texas is really big for it too. All right, so right, they live in dedicated hardware that can handle all the response of any client. So we talked about cloud platforms like AWS, GitHub, Google Cloud, those kind of things, right? Heroku, which we'll be using a couple of days. Right, so a lot of these servers, and a lot of times back in the day, you used to have like hosting providers, and they still do it, but now they're kind of like from a cloud to you to somebody else as like a reseller. But back in the day, it used to be like a host. You could just say, hey, I'm going to pay you $19.95 a month, and it wasn't that they were reselling some other services. They were actually hosting your websites, and now it's kind of like, well, yeah, they're reselling off a bigger reseller, just to make it more cost effective. Data is cheap, and it's easy to do this. So this is true. I mean, most servers do off platforms based on fees. The majority in the world, I guess. Okay, like I said again, I feel like the third time I said it. Our personal computer today, we're going to simulate both, right? We're going to simulate the server, and we're going to simulate the actual browser interaction, which will simulate the client itself. Feel like you guys get that. I don't feel it. If I see another slide, I promise I'll pass it. All right. So what does it mean to create a server, right? So it's going to be able to handle whatever, writing code that handles whatever the server will do. So what does that mean, right? It's important to know that if you're still paying for server-side hardware, that you will create the code that goes inside. So imagine it as an empty box in the sense we're building all the low components that it needs in order to interact with it, right? Our node servers that we're going to create are not going to do anything. We could start a server, wait for a list, set up a listener, and then access it, nothing will happen, right? It's up to us to be able to write that and code what it's going to be handling. All right, so as an example, right, throughout this week, imagine server is a big empty box, like I just said, right? We'll add in code snippets and module to give it the power to do stuff to handle the response that come in. We'll set up a listener. That'll begin listening for requests, right? We're going to be using ports, and I'll get into that in a second. To listen on certain ports to be able to know what kind of response to give it. We're going to give our servers the ability to parse the URLs that the user requests, and we've kind of already been down this route as well when we're dealing with APIs, right? Knowing what the URL was, and we're getting the data back, right? We're going to be doing the same thing today. Is we're going to be using the URL to give the proper response, right? Same thing based on URL keywords. We'll be able to route and direct the flow of traffic, the logic, which means, what I like to think about in this case is like news sites or Wikipedia and those kind of things where they have like this long string of URLs and they know where that data needs to go. And backend is able to handle it and make sure to give you the proper response based upon the URL. All right. Sending HTML, sending the JSON, right? Being able to receive posts, maybe it's an insert, maybe it's an update, maybe we're creating something, maybe we're whatever. The server-side logic, all the logic that's built in behind it to give the proper response. So with this, we might be adding functionality, and by the end of this week, guys, we will be writing our own APIs. Not by the end of this week, but by the end of 13.1, 13.2, 13.3. So by Monday, we'll be doing our own APIs, which is really exciting. I'm kind of excited about it, right? You guys a little nervous about it, or think it's cool? Cool, right? It's cool. So cool. Oh, I don't want to do that yet. Okay. So let's do this. Let's jump in. Oh, wait, first of all, do you guys have any questions about that? Just conceptually, doesn't have to be super. Okay. All right. Okay, you guys will have to totally be patient with my typing. I promise you, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm still short one finger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my first server, right? Feel free to follow along with me if you want, but otherwise I'm going to Slack all this out when I'm done. So don't worry about too much, right? First thing we need to do is get our HTTP module, which is actually built into Node, so it doesn't require any special packages or anything. Like I said, please be patient with my typing. It's going to be all over the place tonight. Right, so first of all, we're doing that. You all know what that does, right? We're just using HTTP package. We don't know. We're going to find out what it does, right? We're going to set a port. And this is something you guys haven't seen, right? I'm actually going to, oh gosh. You guys see me mistype, just whatever. So we're going to set up a port to listen to. At the end of this session, we will be, not the end of today, but in a couple of days, we'll be using port 80. But for today, we'll just be using anything above port 80. 8080 is a pretty common one to use, but we can use anything that's above 80. Not relevant, but I'll get to that. All right, so I'm going to create a function that actually handles the request. All right, so what this is going to do is it's going to get my actual request and then be able to send a response, right? So typically how this is written is just REQ or RES. And I think you guys have kind of been running into that a lot already, right? Oh gosh, there's the first one. All right. All right, so I would usually write something really funny here, but I'm not going to. All right, it works. And then what we're going to have back with this is the request URL. So actually where the user came from. I'll get to that in 1 second. So basically, it's a generic function. We're going to handle the requests that come through it, right? And the client side, and it'll be triggered when the client side, when the user hits a port URL. So when they actually go to this particular page with this particular port, my server with this particular port, then they'll get this response. So I'll get that 1 second. So now I actually need to set up the HTTP package that creates the server, and then we'll pass in the handle request function that'll pirate with the functionality. So I'll get there 1 second to explain that. So I'm going to say server equals HTTP create server. And then, of course, the function I just created. Right. So now our server's created. Now I can set up a listener on it, right? So I'm going to say just listen. Oops, Lawson. Okay, what port to listen to? And what port's that? Right. We'll set up just an anonymous function. Just to show us that we're loft that we're listening. Okay, so I would say something like server is listening on. Since we're dealing with a local host here, and since we're setting a node as the actual server, I'll show you how this works. This is really cool. You guys will like this. Local host. And I don't want to send that. Okay, but I'm changing this. And port. You guys don't understand. Okay. Does that look good to everybody? Do I have any weird syntax things here? All right, so I think I'm here. Okay, now we're going to run it. My first server, just see it. Okay, so my server is now running. So what did I do in the terminal? I wrote the code, and now it's listening. So it's saying, I'm listening for this. I'm listening for someone to hit this URL on this port, right? Which is 8080, right? Sounds kind of weird. I know. Don't get stressed out if you don't understand exactly what's going on here at this point. Hey. Hippo, shut up. Oh, that's weird. A minute. That's my bad. Hold on a second, guys. I'm sorry. I was Control C. We'll cancel it out. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to walk through this quick just to kind of have you understand what's going on. You know what? Actually, it's my bad. I can't just name it that. If you do make a change to your server, your node server, right, you'll have to cancel it and then restart the server. So just like imagine it's a JavaScript function that's running, it's going, right? If I wanted to make any changes to it, I can't just change it and then the server knows what to do. I gotta right? I gotta restart that. So that's just something that you guys will probably run into just because I do. All right, so re-listening. All right. It's not getting my extra little symbol there, but where's that little thing coming from? It must be. Oh yeah, it is. That's weird, right? Well, let's change this one more time. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, it works. It works. Weird. So anyway, that's how that works, guys. We're just setting up a server. We set up a listener, and then we can automatically get the response to it. Yeah, I'm not sure what that showed up. All right. Do you guys want to try this out? Sort of. All right. All right. I'm going to play with this a little bit on my end. So what we're going to do, guys, is you're going to create up two. You're going to actually do two of these, right? So I'll select this out so you have it. But you're going to set up handle requests on two different. You have two different of these functions. You're going to have two different servers, right? And you're going to have two different listeners, right? And you're going to set up. So on the console log, I can type in localhost 7575 on one tab, or I can open up a 8081 on another tab and get two different responses coming from the same server. You guys understand what I'm saying? That makes sense to everybody? Mr. 5? Okay, well, all right. So in this example, I'm just listening on port 8081, right? So this essentially, we're going to copy all the information in here and listen on another port as well. So we'll have like a port 1 and port 2. And you're going to have two different ones set up. And based upon which port you access it through your local host, you're going to give a proper response. Are you going with me, Fistify? A couple more? Okay. So I'll Slack this out. And then if you guys want to, I'll find a better version that's all like prettied up. Yeah, so if you want to work with a partner, you can, but this might be fine just to handle on your own if you want. Do you have the instructions? Just you select them out. Cool. Thanks. Awesome. Thanks, Christian. Oh, what did you Slack out what did you Slack out there? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we won't need to do a curl on this one yet. All right. Okay, there's sample code, guys, with comments. was the path. Yes, you might want to just give that first file a test run just to make sure you get it to work okay, that everything's set up properly with yours. Did anybody give that a shot? Just try that file. Good, you got to work? Good. Make sure if you did test that first file that you cancel it, because if that server's still running, it'll be always running until 30 seconds. Control C. Oh, it's variable names? Yeah. Yeah. It's, you don't need to call that. Your handle request. With the instructions, what they want you to do is have one gateway swap it. Negative. Yeah, go ahead, read it and then. Is that good? Yeah. Already.
So yeah, I work at basically on two, just kind of do basically. Well, I remember this.
I guess. Yeah, close all the terms. So if I just do
Whatever you want.
originated as back as you could do it.
Like right now,
I really. So.
no.
No, yeah, we have to come here.
I'm not even that.
You just said he-
Yeah, he is.
Some of the stuff.
Sorry, that's the one that I did check. And then I did recently on the computer
I don't know. Because we're like a so we know work.
Really? You guys do that.
Good.
Oh, now it's on. I think I gotta go.
Okay. Short answer is, you have a script, right? It's called Server Digest.
So replace it with 7,000, 7,500. So that is creating very more than two.
Dude, that's the
Let's go ahead and. Where else do you need?
When you could be a lot person.
Oh, that's good. Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're off money out. That's just you, everybody. This one. Okay, so now we're gonna have like, you want to do the positive and negative. So what we're gonna do duplicate this function. Yes, but we'll have different. Yes. Oh, we'll also have this. So, yeah, I'll just handle it.
That's good.
Well, so yeah, now you have like sort of one. Or better yet, you can just well, yeah, do. Yeah, well, it depends on how you want it. How does now here.
Mira, van a cocina.
Yeah, some of that ones where it shows and then over either that's what most people use the computer.
We're not. This week we're going to 7,000. Yeah. So the point is, so half of the two different worlds, target together, two different things. So we say service. Not there. It's always a good idea to keep your variables consistent. You see how one is all lowercase. I would still just maybe all same type. I mean, it's fine. Right? So like Y is 1 and 2. We have to run it first. What looks like doesn't start. Now you're still listening on the previous one. If you close this here, you can control C. If you download okay, so now it's saying port 2 is not. So the reason for that is port 2 is just you see why it's good to be consistent. Like I don't care how you do it. That's not going to work, right? Because you just roll up. It's actually called port 2 capitalized. So you're going to want to uppercase that. Very good. Let's see. Port 2. Okay. Now you should be able to go to the web browser and try those two different paths. Those two different forwards. Go to the web browser and see if you get two different responses. Sure.
Yeah.
No. That's Well, I mean, this really breaks down the one that yeah, you're good. But no, that's all. You'll be good. Crazy man. Okay, guys, let's come back real quick to class. You guys ready? Big power clap. All right. I know Mike. You guys have to cover for me. All right, one big more power clap. All right. How many guys are done? How many created 3 chords? How many could have created a 3rd chord? Huh? Yeah. If it was a bonus, right? So, just a brief little thing on ports and setting up servers, right? Back in the day, there was who's heard of Napster, right? Oh wow, really? More people than I thought. Like, so back in the day, I'm gonna unmic for a second. I got a letter from the RIAA, a meme letter back in 2000, with a list of my contents on my hard drive, which happened to be MP3s. So back in 2000, I got a letter from the RA willing to sue me $100,000 per MP3 that was hosted on my machine, right? Which I could probably easily say I was comfortably in like the 7,000 file range area. So,
I got a warning too.
from the RA?
1450 of the
Oh.
And I downloaded the
Oh, nice.
I only got a warning letter.
Oh, I got a full out Napster letter.
It said if I didn't
So-
delete it, I would get sued.
So my server that I ran was similar to Napster because on these ones, but I was a much smaller scale because I was just like, hey, I want to learn how to do this. So based on that, right? So what I set up there a million years ago was an FTP server, right? So what that was, it allowed me to have people access my server through port 21, right? And download files and upload files if I allowed them to. So I was basically just being on sharing services, right, through my own server. So I want you guys to understand that as a what? Yeah, I mean, at the time I was like, this isn't fun. What is that really? But it was like MP3s were brand new, and you know, at the time Sony was like trying to not let MP3 players get made. Like it was like a time where it was like, no, we're not going to allow this format because it was like, you know, it used to be WAV files that were like 64 megabits to download a song. And it was like, oh, we can do it in 4, you know. And so now it's like, oh, okay, I can download a 4-minute song in 3 minutes. So, joke that not everybody. Yeah.
So that's the same.
Right. So if we're getting, yeah, well, see, torrents are a new problem, but that's, yeah, I don't. Huh? So I'm going to share the most popular torrents, and then okay. Yeah. So anyway, that part of that file sharing is open a port on my computer that is allowing people to access, right? In order to do that, I require to have a static IP, right, which is always going to be the same IP that someone could access my server there and download files. Yeah, so that was a million years ago. I just ignored it and it went away. So, so just want you guys to know, if you have a really big problem, just ignore it. Just ignore it. So that's how that works. Oh, by the way, since I'm taping this, I gotta say, none of this actually happened. It's all a joke. All right, so I wanted to walk through this real quick. I think you guys are really getting the hang of it, and it was awesome to see all the different ideas. I think people are trying to come up with ways to like do all kinds of cool stuff and get reuse and everything. But I really think it's more important that we understand this at a conceptual level more than technical level, because we're going to have a different way of handling this soon. But so it's not that it isn't important to how we're doing this and what's going on here. It's more of like, oh, I kind of get it. We're running the servers, we're listening on a port, and we're able to make a request on that port, right? So let's walk through it real quick, guys. Yes.
So it's not one server.
Right, 2 servers, right? I'm creating 2 different servers. Yep, that's absolutely right. Right. And in order to listen to 2 different servers at once, I had to, right? I just have 2 different clients, technically, right? Because I can't listen to, right? So listening on, oh, does anybody else have any other questions about the listening to port area before I get into that a little bit more? So I saw a lot of people duplicate the HTTP var, HTTP require HTTP. Why do we only need to do that once? Package, all right? All right, so that's built into no, we don't need to do anything. There's no need to have an HTTP to require HTTP, right, or anything, because it's not going to serve that type of purpose. Just the package that we can use that we're allowed to do things like create server, right? You did that. Defining the ports. Nobody had any problems with that, I don't think. We obviously didn't want to. I saw a couple of people say var port equals 7,000, and then var port equals 7,500. And what's wrong with that? Right? We reinitialized it, right? So we definitely need to set up 2 different port variables to listen to that. Typically in this kind of situation, like I said, syntax-wise, this isn't perfect, right? Because it's probably constant, right? But we're not really getting into that, right? The actual handle request one, where we're saying, okay, well, you get the request and we send a response. Both of those things are happening here. So we're setting up the functions to be able to handle those 2 types of parameters, right? On server 1, we set that as a callback. It's like, okay, create server is going to both have the request and have the response. Okay. Yeah. So, and then of course we set up the listeners. We had to set up 2 different listeners on 2 different servers. I think some of us accidentally didn't apply the right server to the right list. This could be written in a way that'd be a little cleaner. I suppose you could probably say, you could probably write this on the same line if you wanted to, but this is a little cleaner to look at. So server 1.listen port 1. Anonymous function, and then we're listening to it. So those 2 will be called right away, and they're ready to listen and ready to go. Yeah. So anyways, have any more questions about that piece, conceptually at least? Yeah.
So build a website and post it somewhere so that that's it, right? That's what the server's for.
Yeah, I mean,
Really.
No, yeah, you're right though. Yeah, you're right. If we were going to set this server up on your machine and we wanted other people to access it, right, we'd have to do a few more steps, but we could technically do that, right? As long as you were available to the outside world in that sense, right? As long as people could access,
So when does someone actually use this? It's like you can put it up with like GitHub or any of those, but
right. When does this actually come into play? Well, see, we're actually going to be creating these servers on out there, right? So this comes into play when we're saying, okay, we're actually going to be writing all the server-side code on our own server that we make. So this ties into the whole world of things. Yes, we could potentially use other servers and build a lot of stuff like that way, but this ties into like IoT, right? The Internet of Things stuff, where we're actually coding to machines and saying, okay, we're going to listen on this port, we're going to do this, right? This is like pretty raw, right? We're actually creating the server language for it to understand. So what we're going over the next 3 classes is basically writing the server language and how to interface with it, right? So when you're saying how does that work in the practical, like real world, it kind of depends on how we apply it, but it's important to understand the side of it, right? Hey, go ahead.
Can I just say one thing?
Please, yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of using server different ways to like use server to describe like the computer that stuff. And also in this case, server is like the software that's running on that.
Yes.
So there's like it's used in 2 senses.
Yes. So yeah. So like in the beginning of class, where I was like, you know, we have the hardware, we have this piece of it, right? This code as a server, right? We're able to create multiple servers in this one page, right? It doesn't technically mean that we're creating multiple servers, right? We're creating something that's working as a server to handle this situation, right? So use that context. That's yeah. Go ahead.
Like say we have like our host name,
Mhm.
so there's going to probably be this other people from outside.
Yeah,
So
you're
sitting outside my house.
you're asking yeah, well, depending on how you have your router set up, but within your router you have your own your private network, right, which will have its own range of IPs. Generally, those IPs are like start with a 10, or, you know, where you have like your own set of like 10 dot whatever. Those wouldn't be available from out there, right, unless you set up. But your IP of your router technically would be available out there, depending on whatever firewall, whatever ISPs you have set up, and how that's set up with it. That part can get really complicated, but yeah, pretty good. Cool. Yeah.
When you run the node, it's one that so I don't know. Anything or why is it exit?
Why do we have to exit the command?
No, is that on like the base?
Yeah, it'll stay listening. It's always going to be listening. Yeah, just infinity until we close it, right? Unless there's some weird timeout that I'm not aware of. But as far as I know, you can just run that for forever. Yeah, until you actually cancel it or restart or kill your terminal, and it'll probably kill the process. Cool, guys. Well, you know what? This is an awesome time to take a break. Unless you guys have any more questions. Yeah, this would be a super good time to do that. So, yeah.
More so than you are. But what we do is basically for what we're doing. Complex. But for our purposes, we're going to have obviously any other file. So when you get into this question, on something, so it's yeah, I can see that.
You can go down like it every day.
So it's okay, so think about it. So what we're doing, right? So we're right? So there was, how do we do it, right? So how do we get to it? Well, we have to raise you guys, if we want to get out the term. Oh, we have to get to the raise, right? Okay, we need the browser, okay. Now we're going to the browser. So this is essentially, that for now, we have another way to. That makes sense. So we could have this bid with all of the stuff that we do. Yes, right. You know what? Because when we're talking about JavaScript, we're like, you know, where is this script style? How does this apply to that? And that is a very question. This, we know it is server side of things, whereas JavaScript is client side. Right? This being server side, this type of perspective, which we or by saying, okay, so we're going to do this. You'll always use it. Because it's that's where you're going to be responsible. In the class, you're going to see something to show you where service line, website information. So it makes it a little, but this kind of here, but you couldn't write. Yeah, so you could, right, what we're, and we're gonna do, we're actually doing all We advocate using FX. Load that file. Right, and he also knows that, he also knows. Yeah. We're gonna be able to load all that stuff. And be able to use our effective. Yes. Oh, I have all those stuff. Okay. I'm gonna supply all this. And then the browser, oh, okay. So it's the backing process. I understand that it's super. I also. I know, but more importantly, conceptually, this is the service server. So if we want this. Yeah. Whatever based on your. So let's say the next one. We would want to have like source be like, oh, how do I just not here, right? What if we decided to do a plan to get into in URL? What if the only way you get into our application was port 700? It's the only way to do it. That's our suggestion. If you tried any other port, it would work. But hey, you're in, you got to port 700. Who knows that? You search for code on websites. So it's being that server that was saying, no, you know, we could. Sort of more exactly. We could hide all of this logic. Well, yeah, but we're not.
But you know what I mean?
Put that on your resume. So that, like, they go into it and just.
What we're coding is never going to do. None of this can be seen right. Right. And that's yeah, that's why that's a service.
Question.
Yeah.
What's the question? So, look it up. I'll be here.
Isn't that cool? Did you use the table?
I did not.
Oh, you made it yourself? That's really pretty. No, isn't that? You shouldn't have to re-query it. I'm not saying it's bad practice. Yeah, you already have it. So
I
you
haven't
should
seen
be.
it.
Right.
Because I got everything.
Right.
I did it. So theoretically, yes.
That's all there, right?
That's all right. So you should be able to look through that array and that.
So I could be able to check this array.
Yes.
Numbers that actually exist.
Yeah. That would be really, really good. Yeah, in fact, that would be the preferred way.
Because
Instead of
then-
making that extra.
Well, because then, well, then what? Originally, what I did was I just paid.
But this is doing. And that's what you look at the
I got how to do it. So everything is. So then See, the other thing. So I guess since there is. Oh.
Sure, yeah.
Much prefer to like
You want it?
Oh. Where is that coming from?
Items. I don't have access to items. I don't have access to this.
I do know what you're saying.
So I have to wait till I get.
Yes.
Here.
But it's checking.
That's right. Sure.
So then I can do benefits.
And it's passing.
Okay, okay. Yes. Could you pass the answer?
Sure. Well, no, I'm not talking. But it's something that looks like that. Well.
That's how it was for Chelsea.
Yes.
So that's why I had to answer. Now I can.
That's what I'm. That was
So that
the word.
I had to separate that to two separate.
Lines, yes. Totally. Absolutely correct.
So when I got here, I just like, oh, wait, I don't have.
Right.
It just validated it. It was there.
I know.
Why don't I have to go into it anymore?
Yeah, I would think that would be, that's perfectly clean. Another way to do it.
Yeah, because I don't want to do
It's a process.
Cut them off with that.
That makes sense.
That was pretty cool. That's That's weird. Oh, okay. So it's particularly the same chips and insane.
I mean, this honestly, I was like,
Okay, guys, ready? Big power clap. All right. So for our next example, I'm going to be going over URL parsing and a routing example. Like I said before, this is just conceptual. We're just going to kind of go through this and explain it. But when we get to Express.js, this is going to be slightly easier. Handling these things a little easier, but it's just important that we understand what's going on. All right. Same type of thing as we handled before, right? You guys should be kind of familiar with this now. Not that you should be all experts in it, but you can kind of understand what's happening, right? You can see I shorthanded just the request response, right? That's a little more typical as you see it. And here's something new. We got the path and URL. Actually, I think we called it before, right? Was it path or was it URL before? I think it was URL, right? So I'm able to use that path, right, and actually control like what's going to be displayed, right? So with this, I'm able to actually do the routing and the handling. So I'm actually able to. Why does it not show up on there? Oh well, yeah. Sorry guys, I got like a. So what's that? So within the handle request, right, we can do other stuff, right? So I'm actually able to say, okay, depending on the URL, I'm able to like display like different HTML file, depending on it, right? So in this case, I was like, oh, okay, it's on the root, so I can display the root. So I can send the path, the request and the response, and actually build HTML, right? Write the HTML, right? 200, you guys remember that? Response type, right? Content type, say, hey, it's going to be HTML, it's going to be text file HTML, right? And end it. With the response in, I'm actually able to say, send that. You know how we were doing this before? We're sending the messages that said, hey, I'm a JavaScript person, whatever. Same thing here. We're actually just throwing the content into the response in, right? But what's important here is that we're actually able to take the different paths, depending on what the server's doing, right? And then display the appropriate HTML, or take the appropriate case route, right? And then do a function that's related. Let's see, I want to see something you guys haven't seen before. Oh, let me touch on this really quick. So this is just obviously a feature of the package that we're sawing, right? We're writing to the head, right? When we were doing our API calls, remember we were sending like we're looking for a 200 status code, right? Could have been other ones. We talked about it really early in the class. If I wanted to send the browser a different status code, a 403 forbidden, right? 404 cannot be found. I can actually control what that response is right in this header. So So this response right ahead, 404 content type text HTML. This is actually going to send the 404 to the header. The browser, the Google, anything that reads that page would recognize that as a page that's not found. That page doesn't exist, right? So status code 200 being like, hey, everything's great. Status code 404, 500, a lot of other codes mean that there's an issue, right? Sure. Do you guys want to see this then? Well, too bad. Just want a reaction. All right, so you check this out. I went right to the right. That's karma. That's karma. I went right to the root and it displayed homepage. And I gotta hold on. Guys, I'll come right back to you. Just think about say that amongst yourselves for a second. That's fun. Okay. So why did this show up? Why did I get a big portfolio message in the browser? All right, we were able to parse the URL and say, I gotta just a root here. I know what to do with this. He goes, okay, what are we gonna do with it? Oh, we're gonna display root. We're sending the path request and response because we might do something with it. In this case, we're gonna be sending a response. We're not using the other parameters in this case, although we could. But it's right here, right? That's all we get. Does this part make sense to you guys? As far as this kind of how this is working?
So the methods.
Sure.
Where are those methods?
For the HTTP package?
Yeah.
That's where it's coming from. But I don't know. I would look up the documentation myself. Really? Yeah, but like I said, don't worry too much about the specifics like that because we are going to be moving on to a different.
How do you even know?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. Notes. Take notes. No, I know what you're saying. And like I said, we're moving on from this particular.
Are you using this package yet?
We probably will not be. We're most likely moving on to something a little more robust. But just we're trying to understand right now just how the parsing is handled, the routing is handled. All right, so you guys with me? So let's take a look. Let's see what happens. So if I were to do localhost 8080 portfolio / portfolio, right? The code's going, oh, okay. You want / portfolio right here. Then I'm gonna call this function. I'm gonna return the display portfolio, right? Oh, here it is. And then we got the go home. We got the my portfolio. We're setting the content type as a string. Hey, it's 200. It's good to go, right? Does that kind of make sense? You guys with me on that? So essentially, from the server, we're building web pages, right? On the server side, right? Okay. So let's do this. So as you guys know, with this case, in the case of a switch. Right? What does this mean? What's default mean?
How many cases that
Right, it probably wouldn't crash. It probably just wouldn't do anything. But yes, it's the default case, right? So if this is what I put in, right? Now, interesting enough, I can actually see the header that was sent from this page, right? Sorry, guys. All right. We're getting 404 not found. Right. I was actually able to send that header. Another interesting thing. So it says your page you were looking for was blah blah blah, KF, JF, whatever. I was able to use the URL that was being passed there as well, right? Which technically was the okay. So another thing I could do, right? Let's say I had a page that I wanted to create. Oh gosh, I'm gonna try to type, so you guys just bear with me, right? So I'm gonna display like a 403, 4043, and this will be like out here, and I'm just gonna get rid of all this. All right, and return the 403. 403. What else do I need to do, guys? All right, gotta add a case. So let's just say it be secret. Change the return to go to. What did I call it? Does anybody remember? Yep. Display 403. All right, perfect. Does that look good? Anybody else think of anything I missed? It's possible. It's likely. All right. So I'll go back in here. Okay, so obviously I needed to kill the server, right? Restart it, all right? Make sure it's still working. There it is. Make sure you can go back to the root, right? There it is. Now, what? Thanks, guys. What? That was only 5 minutes ago, 5 seconds ago. Okay, so I'll go secret. Ooh, not allowed here. And you can see, if you guys can see down here enough, the 403 is forbidden. I was able to send that as a header, right? That kind of makes sense. Cool. Okay. Why don't you guys discuss this for 7 minutes? That's what I have on my sheet. Discuss the code. Discuss this piece of the code. And we'll slack it out. Do you want to slack out this version? I'm going to slack out this version.
That was good.
That was good? I'm going to slack this code out so you guys can discuss it. Yeah. Do you, oh, did he? Oh, it looks like Christian found some documentation there. I don't know if it's. It's included with Node, right? Yeah. Oh, right. It's on Node. It's on, yeah, technically. Yeah, it's included with Node, just like file system.
Right, I know, but it's like when I went to the package for them, there's zero documentation.
Okay.
And it was last updated 5 years ago. Or so.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Well, that looks like documentation how it works, but yeah, it's not that way. All right, so guys, talk about it. Maybe make some changes to it if you want to. Just play around with it for 6 minutes. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it. Or do you want to?
Oh my God, like,
Don't have
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, you will see on the page.
Basically,
Okay. Actually, hold on. Yeah, well, well, we know the type of value, right? So go back and go on there. So could be negative, right? Could be negative. So that's a really good question. I'll address that too. Yeah, that's a good. Okay. Okay, guys. Ready to come back? Yes. This thing broke. Okay. So a couple of really, really good questions came up. Kenneth, you want to volunteer your question?
Oh,
Which one? You have two. They're both good.
I only remember one.
Okay.
It was like, why would you ever type the HTML
Right.
in the server?
Right. So why would you that looks horrible, right, guys? I mean, does that seem like that would be the way you'd want to provide content? No? What might be another option? Right. Right. You just do it. So how would we include another file?
an UI. The UI of the file, whatever.
Maybe. What's something that we learned in Node already? FS, right? We just import it. And display it, right? So that brings me. Oh, see. Next, let me cover one more thing. I want to get into that, and that's actually what we're going to cover next. So, really quickly though, I want to cover the right head. So being as that we're serving up this information, right? We're saying, okay, this is a document. This is the MIME type, right? Of a text document, of the HTML, right? That's the type text HTML is going to be the MIME type. We could potentially have this be other things, right? We could have it be 200 and then have it be a JPEG file, right? Image that it's a JPEG, and then of course the content itself could probably be, encoded JPEG. I don't know what it is. Or if we included it, we could supply that. So the header is different than obviously HTML head. Right? Do you guys understand that piece of it? Right? This isn't going to be included in the file that's being sent. It's not part of the contents of the file. It's the header of the file. It's telling the client what this file is. It's saying, hey, this is an HTML file, and you're good to go. This is a good file. Your status is good. Because on the client side, it's going to interpret that based upon the status code that we're sending to it. Is that kind of a good high level understanding in there? Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's move on right away. We got plenty of time. This is going to go good. All right. So we have here a HTML file. Right. We're going to get the page, my favorite things, list a bunch of things, look at formatting. Right. Does anybody not know what this page does? It's okay. No wrong answer. No wrong answer. Mr. 5, do you know what this page does? Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's find out. Okay. So now we know what that code is. Let's take a quick look here. I'm going to do. Oh, am I running the other one still? Yeah. All right. All right, so I'm gonna let you guys look at this just for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna discuss it. So talk to discuss it with a partner or whatever, and we're gonna come back to it just so you guys can see what's going on. That's just a build. Yeah, we haven't that's just going to this is running directly. But in this case, this way is found. Right, right.
Currently, we're running.
Yes.
So then that file, like, it is.
Like in this case. We have already seen no, it's a really good question. No, it's a good question. All right, guys, you ready? Oh, you want to move on? Huh? Is it better? Am I in the way? Yeah, are you done talking about it? All right, I got one more. I'll give you one more minute. Content type would have to be. Anything, you gotta tell that. Yeah. If it didn't, it'd just be a bunch of garbage. All right, guys, are you ready? Big power claps. I thought it was a problem. All right, Rob, I don't want to take it from everybody, but this is why you're not doing good. All right, guys. So what's happening here? Can somebody explain to this? Let's call out like the first couple lines, and then we'll go through it one by one. So, Duncan, what's happening in the first few lines?
Acquiring the file system.
And what are we doing? Well, okay, good. So we were assuming that we're going to be using both of those packages. Good. Okay, let's go on to the next two lines. Who wants to explain that, Brady? Right. Good. Okay. Who wants the hard one? Mildly hard one. Who wants the function? Like you're sure you got a new error. Or your progress one? Yeah. No, I like the shirt. I was saying. I like calling. I'm just kidding. Yes.
I was lurking. So function handle request, we're calling up our file system. Read the file from the directory / index. There, return function, if error, return data, result, right ahead, for random type.
Okay. All right. And there has been some questions on this, so I'm going to come back to this in 1 second. So we'll talk about that in a second. All right. Who wants to finish the sign thing off? I really called on. Me? That's all you have to do is point to somebody. Whenever there's some of the questions get hard, you're like.
So that pretty much makes the server.
Right. So we're going to be listening on what port? Right. And then we're going to just display this on the terminal saying, hey, this is what we do. That's what we do. We're waiting for listening. Good. Okay. So directory name. So obviously just a node constant, right? That's saying the file structure in which we're currently running this server, right? This is what this is pulling up, right? So it's the current file directory. If I wanted to call an index file on my personal computer and have it be on the desktop in /websites, right? As long as permissions, everything else is fine, I could do it right here, right? I could just specify it as anything. The advantage of using the dir name right? The directory name is just that this folder can live anywhere. And I can run this, and this will always be relative to wherever I'm at. Okay? This is similar, if not almost identical to / that we're using in the required. Remember when we were requiring files before, we were using the / This is really, really similar to that. I don't believe it's identical, but yeah, you'd have to look up the difference exactly. But in this case, we can just use the directory name. So that's a good one to take a note on because we'll probably run into that. What's that? Man, it's needy. Slack it. Yes. No problem. I'm gonna Slack both these up. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Refers to the current directory of terminal column script,
Mm-hmm.
whereas underscore is for journey directory.
So what would be a case where they wouldn't be the same? Yeah, I know. It's so yeah, I know. So yeah, it was like one of those things that there is a technical difference between the two. You generally see dir name used when you're doing this. You use the / when you see the required is. So, did you guys come up with a good answer? Huh? Oh. Yeah. Then technically it could be in a different direction. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. All right. All right, you guys ready to do something? Oh, you want to see it? Oh, yeah, you guys all have it there. Okay, let's do that. Right. My favorite things. Here are some of my favorite things. Look at the size of this font. Oh my goodness. All right, there it is. All right, so that's our HTML file. Cool. Let's get there. We'll get there. Let's do this next. All right, you guys ready? All right, we're gonna Slack out two servers. Oh, it's two servers app. We already did that one, didn't we? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's not what I want. I want serve. Did I send you serve favorites, or did I send you that one again? Here, I'm gonna Slack out this. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. Here are our instructions. I'll Slack this out, Christian, just in case. Unless you did already. Did you already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me Slack this out just to make sure it's the right file. I don't trust myself when I see that. Pretty soon. All right. Here we go. Favorites. All right. Okay, so we're going to create a website with 4 routes in it, right? We're going to have a home, we're going to have a favorite food, favorite movies, and favorite CSS framework. Okay, so each route should be triggered by a different URL. Each route should display an HTML page listing on a favorite of each things. So meaning we're basically doing what that exercise just did. We're just expanding upon it a little bit. We're building more additional routes and additional HTML files. This shouldn't take you guys too long. I think, well, I have 30 minutes dedicated to it, but I'm going to give you guys 10. All right. I should be able to use a lot of the zip up file. Just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see, what are they saying here? You're saying you want to use it. Right? So what they're saying here is that they're gonna make order fees. So operational fees. Yeah, just like you would. You make one day. Yeah. You have to do it. Well, it would be the same. What you're gonna have to do is basically. That's what you're using.
That's always gonna be running that way whenever.
The idea is you're gonna take this file here.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, we're parts of it. Yeah, it's on a.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. And just make your index page, index page. Home page, have at least all your phone number. Slash. That would basically. It's like. Yeah. Super.
Yeah, you know, I keep jumping over it.
It is on wheels.
It's more of a, like, I feel like that situation that I don't really solve.
Good engineering. You don't keep solving the same problem. But avoid it.
I can avoid it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Go ahead. I should put that back, huh?
I would say that, I mean, if you look at it, the right or wrong way, I think this is a straightforward.
So I'll get that back on in a sec.
You would want to send it. So basically, if I hear you right, I would put path there.
Like actually, okay, so change it over to whatever.
Yeah. But you notice in his examples, like he doesn't pass resume. It's just sort of assumed. Like for handle. Because it is a method that accepts like resume requests. So it's a little non-intuitive. I don't. But I think this is the way it's evaluate the path. Is there a reason why we brought this path into display? Why? It's a real question.
Yeah.
No, because you're displaying. Does it need to- what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need resume. I'm just curious, like, are you sending it in there?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're welcome to send it in. It's fine. Or you can do something with that. Obviously, this is correct. You'll do something like this. In fact, you don't even really need one. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Right? But I would, well, what I might do would be like, it's like, you know, this passive. Because the idea is that each of these pages, they don't want to name up. They should like abstract files, right? So you'll have like a file called like home. Just get a file. You're gonna load those in. So like you could just pass that parameter in the file. That's what I pass in the file. So that's instead of panel, it could be like, so you, is this? Sort of like, yeah. So you're doing like a homepage method, but why not just have like a display method? You know, one sync method. Why have four? You know, because like what if you have 50 pages, you have to keep adding different method. But if it's easier to sort of pass in, fine. Yeah, that's like pass in data. All right, that file.
So based on that.
Well, so it's yeah, you need to evaluate that. Nice and good.
But somewhere you know,
So you don't
somehow, fire up.
then you scroll. So this is like after the same. So yeah, you're gonna need to handle requests because that's where you're gonna get.
The switch case,
The request and it's request object. So then basically after the request is done, now we can evaluate the request. So after the server is created, we go on to handle the request and the request goes to the request. Then you can evaluate the request. Switch over. And then basically, this is the correct concept. When I see it, you're gonna want to evaluate what the request is. Is it slash movies? Is it slash home slash whatever? And then I would just make it a method, something like display page or whatever. And you could pass into it, correct?
So when
like you might pass into somebody else.
So what do you think?
Exactly.
I could just maintain this file there.
You take this whole thing, put it in a bunch of rows, just change the name. When you use display page, you pass in the file name.
you got full browser,
So this graph.
one server and five or
You could, yeah, depending on how you want to do it, because look, it might be easier if I just do this, right? So you have your case, so you have something like this, so if it's case slash, that's home. So then I might do something like this, where they, their age, and then I might just pass them.
Oh, that would explain. All right. All right, nice. Do you guys need a few more minutes to finish? Okay.
I forget. That way you have one, you're just passing. So you're sort of using a combination of this. This is showing you how to read a file. This is showing you. Yeah, whatever, right? Yeah. So.
Get out of here. That's how you make it.
So, this isn't a bad idea. I would suggest, so here's the thing. You got a whole bunch, you must have a whole bunch of methods. You don't actually. Calling a whole bunch of methods this way. Root, home, yeah, so I don't see those methods. The whole point is basically that I call that they should display, like I call it this route, it should display a file called index.html, home.html. Well, you have a home and a slash. Really should just have one. This is just a slash. So what I would do is something like that. It passes into the save file. Right? Does that make sense? And I can take this. This is a file. So I can put this going to be a file and write it. How about I take this and wrap it? Over here. So what I'm saying, so then for each of your pages, this one, movies that is here, right? Whatever. The point is, I'm passing in a parameter file that I want to load. That's probably the simplest way. That's what I don't know. Because look, the way you have it now is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different methods. What if I got you? Right? You just like so for because I just want to add a different route. That's all. So I'm just reducing this method wherever, whenever I want to put it around, I want access display. Okay, fine. Page now given a fault. Instead of tab. What page do you know? You probably have a CSS page. You wouldn't just, but you wouldn't type CSS because that's assuming who wants CSS. String. It's okay. And then of course you. And then you have to make the pages, right? Because you're trying to load right now. You're trying to load pages.
No, it should be fine.
Yeah, something like this. This is okay, right? And then you have a duplicate.
No, because it's I guess it's not like
You could.
Yeah,
You see,
that
right,
way,
these
yeah.
right in. Yeah, you could. Yeah. But like you could basically. Yeah, that's what we did in the previous example. One. It was one of them.
Oh, did you use request?
But like that right there. See that bar my HTML. Great. You know, that's where you're putting HTML right inside the document. this is much easier to abstract those people in the files. You know, instead of trying to, because like if I had my HTML page, it's 500, I can put all that. It's much easier to abstract it. So and then just pull it in.
You're sending off half the red and the reds. And then you're only interpreting the red and reds with half.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
not recognizing red. It's like, not theirs.
Exactly.
Well, last one.
Well, you could call index.
Right.
Change that.
Oh, you did?
Just wait for it. You wanted to.
Okay, guys. We gotta come back. I'm sorry. I'll let you guys finish that one later. I gotta cover a couple new concepts super quick. Okay, so let's. I'm gonna run through this super fast. I think you guys get it. Most of you guys had the right answers. At the end of class, I'll slack out the solution just in case you're stuck with it. Let me just do this quick. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I obviously I started by creating the 4 HTML files, and then based upon the condition, I didn't have an extra function. You guys did. A lot of you guys did extra function for running each one, which is totally clean, even better. That way, I'm not running a bunch of these right heads. Once again, the syntax isn't nearly as important as the concept, right? So I was just basically just copied each one of these, return them. There's no special functions or anything. So 49 lines of code of just pure brilliance. Very good. I didn't even write this though. I didn't write this. But yeah. Yeah. So are there any questions about that exercise I ran through? I only have 10 minutes to cover the next subject, so I want to show you too. Basically, okay. What's that? Let's do it. Who installed Postman at the beginning of class? I put it up there, Postman. If you didn't, it's fine. We're going to walk through some other stuff too. Okay. So most of the class, God, I hate it when I rush through this stuff because I always like jumble everything together. So I'm going to use the 10 minutes appropriately. Okay. Here are some request methods, right? There are multiple, like probably hundreds of request methods. There's 7 major ones. There's 4 that we're going to deal with in this class, generally. Maybe another 4 generally, right? What have we been doing up until now, right, is which one you think? Get. Right, get. Where have you seen the other ones so far in this class? APIs, right? Deal with APIs, right? So in this sample, I just found this online as a nice little, cute little example to use request methods, right? It's some other ones that we can pull. So get would be like, hey, I have pet inventories and I'm pulling it by status or whatever. So I want to get that information, right? Post would be like, I'm going to place an order, right? So maybe this would be an endpoint to place an order. So this is a post, right? You guys follow me with that? There's also maybe really? Here's the 4 different ones, and there's 2 that are the same. Okay, I thought this was put, and then put would be the 3rd more important one, and most often that request method is used for like updating something, right? So I'm going to explain this in a little bit. I put together an awesome sample for this, so I want to make sure we get through it basically. Delete is obviously what for deleting, right? So by making use of these different request methods, it kind of helps keep things organized as far as the way as the API goes, right? So I want to step through this. Questions? Yeah, right. Okay. So let's. Okay. Okay. just don't need any of them. I mean, maybe that's the first one to debug and whatever. It's fine either way. Okay, so I did write this one. In the same fashion that we've been doing everything else that we've been doing, right? We've been handling. Now I have something slightly different, right? So based on the request method, right? What have we used so far? The request. What were we using before? URL, right? But based on the method, right? I'm going to actually take an action from the post, right? So if it's a post, I'm going to do an insert. If it's a put, I'm going to do an update, right? If it's a delete, I'm going to do a delete, right? So the easiest way to handle this type of thing is by using a program called Postman, right? Where we can actually kind of emulate, or actually do API calls and get a response. So with the browser, it's a little more complicated to write the posts and the puts and the gets and stuff. Just and control that, right? So Postman makes it really easy to do that. If I wanted to emulate like in another way, I could also do a curl, right? Who's familiar with curl? Probably a handful of us, whatever. Are you familiar with curl, Kristen? Good. Huh? So if I wanted to write a curl command, and like I said, I'll Slack all the stuff out, and my notes are super heavy tonight, man. I just wrote a ton of notes for tonight. So please, after the class, guys, tonight, if you go home just for a minute, just read it over. It'll make like a ton of sense. So let me I'll Slack it out. Yeah. What's that? Huh? I'll Slack it out. Okay. So hold on, I want to bring up one more thing. Okay. So the notes will come in this form, but like I said, it'll be part of the Slack out. So with this, I included a bunch of curl calls, right? And this is something that you can use right in the terminal to emulate all these different types of methods, right? So, for example, okay. So I'm going to run this application, and like I said, I'll let you guys step through it later just to get a better understanding of it. We don't have a ton of time. Is this the right one? No. Okay. Okay, so that application I just showed you guys, I have listening, right? So I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to run this curl call that does a get, which is just similar to what we've been doing already. And I'm going to obviously need another terminal window for that. So there we go. All right, I got an empty reply from the server. Oh, it's really small. Sorry. Okay. So I got nothing back just because I don't think I have anything set up for that one. So let's see. I'll do another one. Curl, and I'm going to post a first name equals James as far as like what the content is. It cannot be found. Oops, it's X curl. Oh, connection refused. Awesome. Oh no, did I break something? All right. Anyway, the point of curl is to be able to emulate those responses. So I'm going to show you what we use instead that helps this look cleaner. Okay. Okay. So in Postman, I can do that, but have it work. No, I'm sorry. Here's what happened. I can be honest with you guys. I wrote that script, and then I had the curl commands that worked great with the code they supplied. And then I made all kinds of updates because I wanted to make it really cool and work well with Postman. Didn't make it work for the simple protocols. My bad. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Let's run this. Okay, so here's an example, right? I'm going to send in a product name called Big Coffee. Okay, I'm gonna delete it. Okay, so within this. Within Postman, I can set up a collection, right? I can set up my actual my URL, which is like my endpoint, right? It's running on the same machine, so it's going to be local host, just like we're doing in a browser. And I can specify what request method I want to send to it. So some of you guys, how many use Postman already? New. Yeah, a couple of us used it already for the APIs, like working with the APIs that we had in that first project, which this is what it's meant for, is to help do that. So because I kind of created an API here, I said, okay, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to send it. I'm going to send it the product name Big Coffee. Okay, how about this? What if I wanted to say, I'm going to send it a straw. Super controversial. I'm going to do that one. Okay, so I'm going to delete a straw, right? So I'm able to return it based on that. Okay, so what happens if I do another one? So since I'm listening to the different types of request methods, I'm gonna post. What if I wanted to create a straw or insert a straw, right? So you guys see this? I'm sorry. Dang. Oh, I can make it a little bigger. Okay, is that a little better? Okay, thank you. All right. Right, and then or I can put which in this case maybe I'd write some code that would say, okay, if someone sends in this API, this request, like maybe I can do an update to a straw, right? So I'm saying, okay, product name a straw, but I'm going to update it like to 2 or something, right? There, update a straw 2. So I just want to show you guys what behind the scenes is going on. I want to walk through how to set this up too, but what do I do first? You guys want to see the code or the setup? I have 3 minutes. Code? Okay, I'm going to set it up, and then what you want to do is later on, I'll go through the code after class, and we'll see how much time we have. Okay, so what I'm going to do in it is I'm going to set up a basic request, right? And I'm not going to do anything fancy. There's collections. There's ways I can set up environments. In fact, in a real world situation, I just use this to set up another collection with another company that I was working with APIs in. But for this, I'm just going to use a standard request, right? I'm going to call it local test. And obviously, guys, this isn't going to work unless we set up a server to respond to it, right? So I'm going to have to slack out that code that I did in order for this to work. But so I'm going to do a local test. Okay, I'm going to create a new collection, call it this is a test collection. All right, you know what, guys? Collection. There we go. Oopsie, what did I do? I'm going to call it test. All right. So then I can save to test, right? You guys follow me? I say I made the request. I created a collection. I'm going to save it. You guys with me, or whoever's following along can follow along? Yeah, I just have to create a place for it to go. Yeah, I don't have to create a folder, but I just created like a just a collection. Yeah, just so it has like technically a weird way, like a folder for it to live, a place for it to live, right? So I'm just gonna create that, and that's all there is to it, right? I can then I supply the URL, right? And in this case, right, of the things that I'm sending to it, right, I'm gonna have we can get the response here, we can get all this other stuff that comes through it, but in this case, I'm gonna select no auth because as far as the type, because I don't have any authorization or anything set up with this, right? And then post. Okay, now a GET isn't going to send a body. A GET is, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but a GET is just going to be what's supplied in your URL, right? It's, I might flop around, sorry. A GET's just going to be what's supplied in the URL. So we're not going to have a body. So that's why that's grayed out. But if I go down here and say post, then I get a body. Then I can send some stuff into it, right? So I just want to send a raw, I'm just going to send a raw collection of anything. And because it's super dependent on what the application wants to see, I'm gonna supply it here. So I think what my, let's see, let's do it this way. 10 million servers. Okay. Okay. So I'm using JSON, the raw, right? It's just raw, sending raw JSON, and I'm sending a product name with it. Is you guys kind of remember how JSON works in that? I'm sorry, I'm flying through this. I just want to make sure I get through it once. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to send a product name. Okay. And then I'm going to send what that product name is, right? Table. Right. And then I can just send it. And then I'll get my response. Why didn't I get a response? No, not sure. Oh, did I not shuffle the server? Yep. Okay. So then it says insert table because that's what this particular application does. So I'll send this out. If you guys created at least that far, this piece is going to be needed, and then the code's going to be needed to work. This particular thing I just wrote has it just accepts that one particular request method, but in the console log we can actually see what it's saying. So in this, it says your post with the data product name table, right? So it took that information in from what I supplied with Postman right in the console log. So what does that look like here? Console log right here. I said you did a post with the data, request data. All of that request data is all the stuff we've already been doing, right? Up here, right? So I was able just to take all that data that came in through the request and just go, okay, what are we gonna do with it? Well, as soon as you're done collecting it, I'm gonna run this console log and say, okay, you did a response, and then obviously I'm just doing a JSON parse, and then just depending on which one of these methods I'm using, I'm just creating a string saying, okay, delete. Now, obviously, in a real world situation, there'd be something happening here, right? But I just did this for visual purposes, so you see, okay, this might be insert, right? This might be something else. It might be an update, right? A delete might be delete. Just kind of describing how that worked. There would obviously be just a ton of functionality here, right? Maybe I'd interface with SQL, MySQL. Maybe I would, whatever would happen within this process, but it could be done at this level. So I just wanted to cover that. Like I said before, guys, Express.js is going to handle a lot of the specifics. So don't get too wrapped up with how this is handling the requests and those kind of things. But just to understand for a conceptual level, we can connect to a server, and then we can understand take in the request, and then give a response back depending on it, right? Yeah. Okay, any questions like higher level conceptually? Anybody? Okay. Okay, so after class, if you want me to go over it again, I can go over it a little slower, and then I'll Slack that out like right now. So you can see it. Thanks, guys.